Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the difference of two cubes pattern. So in a previous video we talked about the sum of two cubes pattern, and I'll link that in the cards right now. And we did some examples with that pattern just like we're going to do in this one. So with the difference of two cubes, we're starting up here, we have a cubed minus b cubed. And that's going to factor out as a minus b, and then times the trinomial a squared plus ab plus b squared. So we're going to look at two examples and we can just follow along with this factorization. So we look at number one, we have x cubed minus 729. And so we notice that 729 is not cubed, but we can rewrite 729 as a number cubed, and that would be 9 cubed. So we can rewrite this as x cubed minus 9 cubed. And now we can identify a is x and b is 9. And now we can just think back to our pattern and just plug in, anytime we see a, we plug in an x. Anytime we see b, we plug in a 9. So we have a minus b, so that would be x minus 9. A squared, which would be x squared, plus a times b, so 9 times x would be 9x. And then plus b squared, 9 squared would be 81. Okay, so we have our final factorization for our first one. It would be x minus 9 times x squared plus 9x plus 81. Now, for example number 2, we have to factor out a common monomial to set us up for the difference of two cubes. So we start off with 16x to the 5th minus 250x squared. And what we can think about is 16 is not a perfect cube and 250 is not a perfect cube, but can we factor out a number to make both 16 and 250 a perfect cube? Hopefully you're thinking about, let's factor out a 2, because then 16 becomes 8, perfect cube, and 250 becomes 125, also a perfect cube. Now while we're doing that, let's also factor out an x squared, because that's going to give us an x cubed in our first term. So if we factor out a 2x squared, now we would have an 8x cubed minus 125. Now we can think about what is inside the parentheses and try and rewrite those two terms, 8x cubed and 125, as a term cubed. So we're just going to leave this 2x squared out here. It's basically going to hang out with us throughout our entire problem, and it's going to be in our answer. So now on the inside of the parentheses, we could rewrite this as 2x quantity cubed, right? 2x cubed minus 5 cubed. And now we can identify a is 2x and b is 5. So now we think back to our pattern. So we still have this 2x squared out here. A minus b, so 2x minus 5. A squared, so that's going to be 2x squared. Notice how I put that in parentheses there, because that's eventually going to become 4x squared. And then we have plus 2x times 5 and plus 5 squared. So you can see I'm showing my work a little bit more on number 2. So now we need to go through and simplify a little bit. So like I said, this 2x squared is kind of along for the ride. Our binomial is simplified, 2x minus 5. And now we can simplify this trinomial. So 2x quantity squared, we can give this exponent of the 2 to the 2 and the x. So we get 4x squared. 2x times 5 would be 10x, and 5 squared would be 25. And so that would be our final factorization for number 2, 2x squared times 2x minus 5 times 4x squared plus 10x plus 25. And that is how you can use the difference of two cubes pattern to factor.